Hello, happy Thursday. All right, I'm gonna wait for one person to hop on here. We are in the hotel still. Of course, we'll be there for a long time. So we're actually fixing to go hang out at the pool for a few hours. School is done. A lot of my work is done. We did shopping, so now it's just kind of time to hang out. But this is something that I was personally listening to a motivational speaker, and I heard something along the lines of this, and it just kind of like spun off. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. When you're hopping on, okay, so first off, let me tell you, if you don't have kids, this absolutely is going to apply to you. The illustration I'm going to use just happens to deal with my kid. So, if you have kids, drop me a 1 in the comments. If you're watching this and you don't have kids, drop me a 2. I don't know why the lighting just changed. That was kind of weird. But it is coffee time. Wow. Oh, that is so weird. Okay, so apparently the lighting's going to change according to how I move. Y'all, I'm just going to apologize. I don't know why the lighting is doing anything. Okay, I'll just try to keep my hands, like, I talk with my hands, so I think that's going to screw the lighting up. Anyways, doesn't matter. This is going to be good regardless, so just ignore the lighting situation. So I've got my coffee. I made myself a caramel cappuccino this afternoon. I need all of the energy because I'm dying. Typically, I make my coffee as I'm talking to you guys. It's just a lot harder to do that here because I have to make it pretty much in the bathroom. There's not any place to like sit and talk to y'all while I'm making it. Like at home, I just stand in my kitchen and do it. So, you know, they might be modified a little bit for the next month or so, but I still have my normal coffee and I just have it in a cool little to-go cup. So, how many of you have ever, it's a meme, it's a quote, whatever, like there's so many different variations, but it basically is someone saying, what kind of attitude are we gonna have today? And it's saying, like, I don't know, what kind of attitude are you going to have? Like, I basically reciprocate whatever you give me. How many of you have ever heard that? Like, someone's attitude is determined by how somebody else treats them or the attitude somebody else is giving them. I've heard that. I used to live by that. Susan says I'm hard to hear. Can drop me a, like, can anyone else not hear me? I can turn myself up, I think. Is that any better? If not, I'll try to get closer to the speaker. Not sure. I am sitting right by the air conditioner. That might make it harder to hear. So, let me know in the comments if you can hear me. Sorry, guys. Fine on my end. I can hear you. Okay, I'm not sure, Susan. I think it might be on your end then. So anyways. Okay, good. Usually I don't have problem with audio. My iPad has a really good audio system, but like again, I'm right by the air conditioner. So I've seen that a lot where people will say like, oh, what kind of attitude are we going to have? I don't know. Like you're deciding that. And that's a little bit what I'm going to talk about today because as adults, we should not be mimicking other people's attitudes. But as children, typically until they learn to control their own emotions and control their own attitudes, they mimic the attitudes of their parents and their authorities. Now, I'm not saying every time a kid has an attitude, it's the parent's fault, but I am saying if your kid is constantly having an attitude with you, and I'm going to tell a couple stories in a minute and make this a little bit more interesting, myself included, then chances are you probably need to look in the mirror because you're giving off some of that same attitude. So, first kind of story I want to tell you, this will be quick by the way, is what do your kids see you as? Because every one of our kids, if you ask them, okay, they may not even know what emotions is if they're really, really little. Like if I ask my daughter what kind of emotions I normally have, she'd probably say, but if I say, is mom always happy, always sad, always mad, like she would fit me into one of those categories. So I will say, in college, I worked with a kid, and this kid was in 6th grade, And she was telling me, like, we were going through the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. I've gone through that with so many classes and so many groups of kids. It's not even funny. It's an excellent book as a parent. If you're not going through that with your child, you are doing your child and yourself a disservice. It's all about controlling attitudes and, controlling your emotions and not procrastinating. And it's just a very thorough, very good book and workbook combination. And immediately, this girl started telling me how she doesn't have an attitude with her dad, but she's a really bad attitude with her mom. And she didn't know why, but her mom was always yelled at her. And her mom always had a bad attitude with her. And so we really got to progressing. And by the end of the class, she was doing really, really well with this. We started really hitting it hard of, if your mom yells at you or has an attitude with you, you yelling or having an attitude back doesn't help the situation. All it does is hurt it. Now, in a perfect world, her mom would have been the one taking that initiative, but that's not the world that we live in. So this little 6-year-old girl took the initiative, and several years later, as she's about to graduate high school, came and told me that her mom's relationship was so much better with her simply because the girl, the daughter, learned to control her own emotions instead of mimicking her mom's. Now, first off, how many adults can even say that we do that very well? I'll tell you, it took me years and years and years and years to stop mimicking other people's emotions. That was one thing that was a huge, huge struggle. But this little girl, she knew that her mom, if she could describe her mom in one emotion, it would be angry. Her mom was mad all the time. Mad, frustrated, irritated, whatever you want to lump them all together. But her mom was pouring that out onto her children, regardless of if she knew it or not. I never got a chance to talk to the mom. I have no idea. I'd seen them interact. I knew the girl wasn't making it up. And the fact that the girl was willing to put all the work in and all the progress, I knew it was a legit scenario. But again, if you're not asked for your advice, you don't give it. So I wasn't going to walk up to this mom and be like, so, think you need to work on the relationship with your kid before you lose her, So, it was just a really awesome thing to watch this little girl really learn to control her emotions. And there are 2 types of people. There are people that they get in a bad situation. They have a fixed mindset. They're always the victim, can't get out of it. They just mimic everyone else's emotions. Or they have a growth mindset. And those are the people that really fix themselves and turn their lives around. So I will say there is a group of people. Now, there's obviously several groups of people, but there is fixed mindset and growth mindset. But when it comes to, I guess there is kind of a middle ground. There is an emotional people pleaser. These are the people that say one thing to your face, and I'm going to tie this all in, so I know it's a little rambling, but I'm tying it all in. They say one thing to your face, and then they say something else to somebody else. They tell you whatever they think that you want to hear to make you happy. We all know those. Drop me down a 5 in the comments if you know somebody who you would not trust them beyond any measure because they're telling you what you want to hear, and they're telling the other person what they want to hear as well. They're nice, they're friendly, but they are not people that you go to as a problem solver because they're not going to solve anything. They don't want to have conflict. They are just going to sit there and blow smoke up your butt. Okay, I know a few of those people. And those people, it's really hard for them to learn how to stick up for what is right. Because it doesn't matter. They want to be liked, and they, at the very least, don't want to make anyone mad or offend anybody. If you live your whole life always being a people pleaser, you never actually stand up for your convictions. All you do is tell the other person what they want to hear, even if it necessarily is not right, but it at least doesn't offend them. Then you may turn to someone else and be like, oh yeah, so-and-so, they're doing this and it's just not right. But when that person comes to you and have that conversation, that's not what you're telling them. And again, I used to be this person also. I used to be the person I was dead scared of any kind of conflict. I let people walk all over me. I did whatever it took to not offend people. And I learned real quick that that was actually the dumbest thing I could be doing for my own family. It's important to be around people like you are on the inside. It's important to show your true color, so to speak. And I will be honest, there was about a 9-month period, about a year and a half ago, where my husband and I were in a toxic situation with a bunch of people that were a bunch of people pleasers, and no one actually talked about any emotions or talked about anything that was going wrong. It was just, oh yeah, we'll do this better, we'll do this better, we'll do this better, and then nothing ever got done. And everyone talked about everybody behind their back. That is not a good situation to be in. And again, your kids see that, and guess what they're gonna do as they get older? Same thing, they're gonna mimic all of that. So, the lady that was talking, again, I'm jumping back and forth, but I'm trying to tie this all in together. So the lady that I originally heard talking about mimicking emotions, she was talking about how they went on a horse ride. It was her and her 2 sons, and then a few other people. They went on a horse ride, and the way she explained it, like they lined the horses up in a line, everyone got on a horse, and you kind of just like followed each other. She said she was in the very front, and her son was in the very back. And she didn't know it at the time, but her son had a horse that kind of lagged, and so he didn't keep up with the crowd, and basically he felt like he was, like the son felt like he was kind of disconnected from the conversation and the laughing, and he was getting really, really frustrated. Well, they all stopped to take a break. They all caught up with each other. They got off, and he yelled to his mom. He said, "Hey, Mom, come back here and give this horse some of your positivity. He needs some positive vibes back here." And she said it just warmed her heart so much because her son knew if anybody needs positivity, like my mom's the one that'll give it to you because my mom's a positive person. How many of you can honestly say, if you asked your kids, hey, am I positive or negative? Would your kids say, are you positive or are you negative? That was convicting when she said that to me. When she said that, not to me because I was listening to her, but when she said that, I was like, ooh. How many parents, like their kids would honestly be like, oh, my mom's positive. There was a time in there my kid wouldn't have said that. I think she would now. Fingers crossed. I don't really know. She's 5, 6. But there was a time, and I'll tell you, here's a sign that your kid that you're not positive around your kid. When they do something wrong, regardless if it is on accident or on purpose, or actually no, if they do something wrong on accident, because how many of our kids make mistakes, and sometimes they are dumb mistakes. During that 9-month period where we were in a pretty toxic situation, it was really, really taxing on my emotions. And I just felt like I was getting really, really frazzled. There was a time my daughter would make a mistake and immediately start crying and say, are you going to be mad at me? She should never have to ask that question. She should know that if she does something like malicious, yes, she's going to be punished, but I'm still not going to be mad. I'm not going to show my anger toward her. Now, there have been times I've been real mad at my kid, and I know better. I take a deep breath. I don't punish her. I don't do anything. She sits and basically waits until I calm down. She does not know that I'm mad at her. Like, I don't blow up on her. I don't need to. She's 6. Again, guys, like, there's no reason you should be blowing up on your child. If you know how to control your emotions, and if you don't, it's a skill, so I would highly suggest learning it. But when she asked me that, it was like, I was like, oh, if my kid does not know if I am stable emotionally or not, then that's bleeding over into her, and that's not a secure home environment. Like, at that point, my kid was like, oh, my mom's positive. She's like, no, my mom's a freaking ticking time bomb. I accidentally spilled milk on the floor and she's going to yell at me. And so I had to take a step back, go back to some of my training when it comes to emotional control. And I had to say, okay, no, that we're not going to do this anymore. And again, guys, there's no perfect parents, and I'm being super transparent with you to tell you that. So nobody get up in my inbox and tell me how bad I am for yelling at my kid. Like, I've done it, but I know it's wrong and I know not to do it. And I constantly am checking myself. So that is what this is all about, but I want to go ahead and transfer that over to other people as well. Do your coworkers, are you a ticking time bomb to them? Do they never know if you're coming to the office happy or mad or sad? Like, you just wear your emotions on your sleeve is what they used to say, or wear your heart on your sleeve. Does your boss never know if maybe you make a legit mistake and he's having to really reprimand you? Does he never know how you're going to react? Are you going to yell at him? Are you going to start sobbing? Are you going to laugh it off like it's a joke? your spouse. How many of our spouses dread coming home? I'm talking to stay-at-home moms. How many of your spouses and our spouses dread coming home because they have no idea what kind of mood you're going to be in? Because you're not stable. And again, that's a skill. That's something that you learn how to control. And I know I'm going to get some flack for saying that too, because I've seen it before. But as someone who has struggled with pretty severe mental health issues, I can tell you there are so many tools out there. Go to a therapist. Like, I'm not saying it's a quick fix, nothing. Go to a therapist, get counseling. But they can help you learn to control your emotions and tail those before they get out of control. So this is a little deeper than my normal coffee chats, but I've had a lot of parents come to me and their kids have some crazy attitudes. And I'm observing from the outside in, I can pinpoint, okay, you have that same attitude, that's why your kid has it. But again, now when they come to me, I do tell them that because they're asking for advice. If they don't come to me, I'm not telling them that. I just observe from afar. So if your kids are struggling with some crazy attitudes and emotions, now again, right now, everyone's emotions are heightened. We're going through a pretty crazy time in the world. If your child is suffering with a lot of anxiety, chances are she's seeing you suffer with a lot of anxiety. And again, not telling you there's a quick fix. I'm telling you get legit help to learn how to cope with this so you can help your kids cope with this. But sooner rather than later, because I can tell you it's a lot easier helping my 6-year-old get back on track emotionally than it would be helping my 16-year-old after 10 years of seeing me be a ticking time bomb. So, a little heavy. I hope that helps somebody on here. I'm going to get off here. We're going to head to the pool and have an awesome rest of your Thursday.